I'd like to call the order of the agenda of the Belton City Council regular meeting July 9th, 2019. We're going to be led Pledge of Allegiance by Councilman Finn.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can we have the roll call?
Mayor Davis,
Here.
Councilman Savage,
Here.
Councilman Lathrop, Councilman Trutzel,
Here.
Councilman Van Winkle,
Here.
Councilman Clark,
Here.
Councilman Finn,
Here.
Councilwoman Davidson, here, Councilwoman Peak, here.
Consent agenda. One motion, non-debatable, to approve the recommendations noted. Any member of the council may ask for an item to be taken from the consent agenda for discussion and separate action.
Present
We have a present
or not?
and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Personal appearances. We have Mr. Randy Jones, City of Harrisonville City Clerk, to present the Missouri Registered City Clerk certification to our City Clerk, Andrea Cunningham. Would you come forward, please?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Randy, and I'm the City Clerk at Harrisonville, and I'm here on behalf of the Missouri City Clerks and Finance Officers Association to recognize your City Clerk, Andrea Cunningham, for earning her Missouri Registered City Clerk certification. As you are aware, Andrea was hired as an Executive Secretary Administrative Assistant for the City of Belton in July of 2014. She provided administrative and clerical support for the City Manager, the Assistant City Manager, and City Clerk, including acting as Deputy City Clerk. In July of 2018, Andrea was appointed as City Clerk. She joined the Missouri City Clerks and Finance Officers Association and the Western Division in 2014. She has attended many Western Division meetings, the CCFOA Master Academy and the New Clerks Institute, the Spring Institutes, and numerous webinars relevant to the Office of City Clerk. She is also a member of the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. Knowing the importance of promoting the general welfare of her city's governmental operations, she continually strives toward performing services that best meet the interests and needs of the public as efficiently and effectively as possible. But moreover, she is always focusing on improving administrative techniques used in the operation of municipal governments while implementing all she has learned through the City Clerks Association. Andrea believes that education is the key to serving as the best city clerk she can be, so her education journey has not ended with this certification. She will continue to the next levels of certification through her career as city clerk. Your city clerk, Andrea Cunningham, has worked very hard to attain the Missouri Registered City Clerk certification. This is a combination of education and experience, and she is to be commended for her perseverance in achieving this goal. Additionally, you, as the elected officials, are to be commended for your continued support of her in her educational journey. It demonstrates that you recognize the importance of continuing education and that the knowledge she receives is a great benefit to you and to the other city staff and to your citizens. So please join me in recognizing Andrea for her hard-earned achievement of her Missouri Registered City Clerk certification and as she continues her commitment to a lifelong learning as a city clerk.
Here, Randy, will you come up here in front?
Sure.
Who's going to take the picture?
Okay. Yeah, we're going to have a little photo op here. I wanted to congratulate Andrea. She's been so dutiful and very committed to this certification. We all know going through the educational process that it can be difficult, and just so very proud that she's pursued this endeavor, and want to congratulate her accordingly.
Henry does a great job. We appreciate her effort. She's very professional. We really need her. She's a good lady. Ordinances. A, motion approving both readings, Bill number 2019-39.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to execute the Third Amendment to the tax increment financing contract between the City of Belton, Missouri and Hermann Enterprises, LLC for implementation of Project 3 of the Southtown Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Plan as amended.
Present.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion.
Yes, we have a lead discussion this evening by Carolyn Yatsuk, our Economic Development Director.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Before you this evening is an ordinance that would amend the TIF contract between the City of Belton and Hermann Enterprise LLC for Project Area 3 of the Southtown Plaza TIF redevelopment plan. The Southtown Plaza TIF is comprised of 3 project areas, and that site plan can be found on page 62 of your agenda. Project area number 1, for those of you who don't know, is the Menards location. Project area 2 are the Menards outlots, and project area 3 is across the street on Markey Parkway from the Menards outlots. And that is the project area that is up for discussion tonight. The amendment allows for the development of 2 buildings. The first building will be a 3,500 square foot Aspen Dental, and it does not generate sales tax, but it will still capture the increase in real property tax. Building number 2 will be a 4,000 square foot building, or shall have projected retail sales of at least $1.5 million and be retail sales tax generating. Before you tonight is this contract amendment only, and pending City Council approval, the final development plan will be going before the Planning Commission on Monday the 15th. Rob Herman, the developer, is present tonight to answer any questions that you might have, and at this time I'd like to introduce Sid Douglas with Gilmore & Bell, the city's economic development attorney, to provide further details on the plan.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Is this on?
It's on.
Okay. Carolyn did a good job of outlining generally where this is and what is expected to happen. This is a compromise based on some conversations that we had with the council back in December of 2018. The primary benefit here is that the developer who had been working with Aspen Dental to be located at this site will get that, but we're expecting that a significant retail sales tax generating capabilities or businesses will also be added to the site, which was a real point that we received from the council of what was also supposed to be at that site. In addition to some of the comments that Carolyn has already made, there are the second building will be sales tax generators. There is a list of about 9 additional retailers that would be specifically discussed and authorized as part of something that could be located on those businesses. It will be sales tax generator if it's not one of those 9, or there's 90 other retailers that were in the original contract. Most of them will probably not be very applicable. It includes lists of like Sam's Club, Costco. There's no way that they could be located on this site. But anything else besides the retailers identified in the list in the original contract or what's in this amendment can be approved by the city manager as part of that when those come forward. It's expected that this first building for Aspen Dental will be completed by May 31st of 2020. It's hopeful that the second building will be completed by May 31st of 2021. To the extent that those dates are not fulfilled, like the other redevelopment contracts that the city has, that we'd ask the developer to come forward and give us an update on the schedule when those projects would be completed, and then discuss what alternatives could be used to help make that a successful project. I think that's pretty much all I have to add. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer questions from the council.
Councilman Savage.
So this dental is the one we talked about a few weeks ago that was over here in the corner. That's in Project 3, right? Is that what I'm looking at?
Yes.
So I heard a complete no and storming out of here too. I haven't heard a word about it. And now we're wanting to pass this thing without any discussion at all, other than right now? Did I miss something in between here?
No, I don't think so. What happened here is that they had brought forward a different plan that would include sales tax producing.
On Project 3? Okay.
Right. And so, and that was part of the provision, is that they're trying to find a way, and Rob, I'm not going to speak on your behalf, but I guess I am getting ready to, so if I say something wrong, just correct me. But I think what they're trying to do is find something that generates some business there and some interest in that corner, and shows that it's a viable spot. And so they want to be able to put the Aspen in there, which is a smaller building, as they've relayed to me. And then one of the things that we stated was, because some of the other, as Mr. Hermann has stated, is that there's other developments in the area that don't have 100% sales tax producing. And so what he's trying to do is get something there that he's already got interest. He's got people that definitely want to go there, get interest there, so that he can then get other companies to come in. And part of this requirement states that the other building has to be sales tax producing.
Well, it just seems to me like that we should have had some work session and some discussion about it. It just seems reasonable to me. I'm trying to pull up memory for about 3 minutes here. What did we do? I know there was some concerns about the entrance into that, and there was a lot of fuss and argument about trying to get something onto 163rd Street, which I don't see that here. Am I to assume there's no entrance right in, right out, and that we're only servicing it off this Parkway?
Right. So what you have in front of you this evening is the contractual portion of whether or not you would allow a non-sales tax producing business to go in there. The second part that would go to the Planning Commission is the right in, right out that you were just talking about. They have agreed in looking at this that there would absolutely be, they would like to see a right in, right out, but they understand what our limitations are, and so there would be no right out. And what they've got drawn right now is, and the plan is not complete, and they understand that it's not complete, and therefore the right in that would go there would have to have a deceleration lane. And that is the only way that planning and public works would even consider it, is if it has a decel lane. So there's a lot of what ifs right now, because that provision, that would be a condition that Dave has spoken that would go to the Planning Commission, that it would have to have a decel lane for that right in, but there would absolutely be no right out, because it's in that, what do you call that, Celia's area of influence.
So, but if we go ahead and pass this as a yes, then we're going to do this non-tax generating piece, which may be fine. It seems to me like we should know a little bit more about the plans whenever we're changing this to be something that it's not supposed to be. It just seems like it deserves more than 3 minutes of at least me getting to think about it. I'm not that sharp.
No, and I understand what you're saying, but this still has more to go. This goes to the Planning Commission, and so before it could go to the Planning Commission with a drawing, this agreement has to be approved by the council first, that you would consider and you accept the direction of doing a non-sales tax in this one building only.
All right, well, maybe someone else here remembers a little more of the discussion from before. That's the little bit that I've brought up, and again, not even saying.
Councilman Savage, you're exactly right, and it hasn't just been a few weeks. This, I think, occurred back in January. So it's been a while.
It's been a while, but it was a memorable meeting.
Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, I missed it. I was not able to be
You're
at that
lucky.
meeting, so
So,
I'm going on information share.
And to add on to that too, is that right across the street, we have a dental place that's in a mixed also, that's a non-sales tax bearing. Across the street, we do have one just like it. So it's not like, it's not something that's strange or beyond. So this is, and we have talked to, but again, it's got to go to the planning and zoning to see about the right in. And we didn't give up on, we're not going to do a right out, is what we're saying. So we can't do that.
we can still have an opportunity to turn that down or deny it if we don't like the way it comes
Right.
through. However, it's more difficult. That's how you get this done, is one little step at a time.
Agreed. Yes, Councilman Clark.
I guess I was like Alexa, I wasn't here back in December either, so I don't know what was discussed back then. I guess my whole thing is trying to figure out why this piece of land is actually in Menard's TIF in the first place. We have two different developers, and personally, I think if it comes out of the TIF, then you don't have to worry about it. So, that's my take. I think, this little piece of land shouldn't be in Menard's TIF if Menard's has nothing to do with it.
This is part of the overall redevelopment plan and redevelopment area. This is much like the pad sites that sit in front of Menards. It's a revenue generator that helps pay the reimbursable costs that go back to Menards for the development. So to the extent that you take that out, it decreases the revenues that are used to pay the reimbursement and for other costs. So,
But I guess my question is, Menard's been there for 2 years and they haven't touched an outlot yet, so why not put pressure on Menard's to do something with their outlots? I mean, instead of using this little triangle as a piece for an outlot, make Menard's do something. I mean, it's been 2 years and nothing.
Sheila, you want to go to that one?
I just want to make sure that council is aware that both the developer and the city have certified costs that are being repaid by the Southtown Plaza TIF.
And what does that look like?
That means that all of the TIF revenues, so the eats and the pilots that go into that TIF fund, so any economic activity taxes and any payments in lieu of taxes that go into that TIF fund go to pay certified costs. 75% to the developer to repay their certified costs, 25% to the city. The city's certified costs are for paying for Markey Parkway and the Nexus Trail.
Is that clear? I mean, did you understand that? What they're saying is the infrastructure.
I get the infrastructure, but, I mean, we're talking about a little corner that, I mean, Aspen Dental's not going to generate much revenue at all for us. I mean, it's going to be property taxes, and I don't know what we're going to get off property taxes from that. Even if there is a retail space there, to me, it's like, take it out. Make Menards pay for their own infrastructure.
Oh, I see what your point is you're trying to throw a,
I mean, that road is already there. I mean, it was there long before Menards came. It's probably been sitting empty since 2006 is when they built that road to nowhere.
The city paid for that road through the Belton Cass Regional TDD. The city also paid for the Belton Nexus Trail, and the city will be reimbursed with the money that is generated within that TIF area.
I mean, the city's going to be reimbursed anyhow with tax dollars anyhow. I mean, they're going to get their tax dollars.
With a TIF, the city doesn't just get our tax dollars, but we are also getting tax dollars from the county, and the other political subdivisions are helping pay back those infrastructure costs that are also benefiting them. So it's not just the city that is paying that. So the city is getting a benefit from every single TIF area where we are have certified costs paying for infrastructure.
All right.
Councilman Trutzel.
As much as it's kind of a difficult situation, from my previous experience, raw land right there is not doing anybody any good at all. I personally, I think Councilman Finn might agree. I might say he will, but in new additions, like housing additions, some of the toughest houses to sell are the first ones because people don't really know what's going to go on. So what I'm saying here, I guess I'm trying to translate here, is that some business will generate interest in another business and perhaps even more. You got to have something going on. I know when I own my own personal business, when I had a few cars in the parking lot, I had a few people. When I had lots of cars in the parking lot, I had lots of business. And so people generate business and additional interest in that spot. So I think it's probably as good as we're going to get something started, perhaps. As far as Menards doing something, I don't think we can force Menards to do anything. If they're happy with empty lots, I guess that's what it is.
More questions, comments? Councilman Finn?
Yes, more towards, where'd Sid go? I lost him. There he is. Basically, what I'm getting from you tonight is we bring in this dental office. That's going to attract space, this other 4,500, and we think we can get it filled in 2 years by 2021. Is that right?
That's the hope.
And I love that plan. That's fantastic. And you've got 9 other retailers that could be interested in fitting into that. $1.5 million in retail sales would generate. Sheila's probably got it figured out how much that's going to figure for tax dollars, and that's awesome. And my biggest concern, and I know the council as well, we don't want to see 8 amendments on this thing, because we've got some places that we've amended a few times, and we've had some conversations, some loud conversations around these continued amendments to, oh, we're looking at bringing in other people, or we're talking to other people, and honestly, that gets old. That gets really old. So I guess there's no guarantees in anything in business. I get that. Going first makes sense. Get somebody in there, show that it's a viable corner. That's great. What can you do to assure us that we can be on that right tracks for 2021 to be able to get somebody into that 4,500 square foot space and collect those tax dollars?
And can I interject here for just a moment? The one thing I want to make sure that it's perfectly clear is that Sid is here with Gilmore Bell representing the city.
Yes, I get that.
He worked with the attorney from Rob Herman. And so, Rob, I'm going to ask you to come to the podium, because I think what Councilman Finn is stating, he needs to look you in the eye, and you need to look him back in the eye when you two are having this conversation about future development, what that looks like, and the desire of not seeing 8 amendments and the development. I want to make sure it's going to the right person.
Yeah. Thank you, Sid, for taking my statement.
I'm sorry.
Questions?
Once again, my name is Rob Herman. I am the manager of Hermann Enterprises. And Aspen Dental came along. They're a #1 competitor to Heartland Dental, which is across the street. They want the competition. They want to be on the corner. And they're a Class A operation. I mean, honestly, you got them in, I believe, Summit Square. You got them in Independence on 39th Street. And what I've seen is that growth from that building, we get the traffic in there, we'll be able to lease that second space.
And I love that plan. That sounds really cool right now. I want to make sure that happens, though. And so
Sure.
I hear
We're
from you.
thinking of some fast casual concepts, like Five Guys, Schlotsky's, sandwich shops, things
All
like
right,
that.
so we're looking at a possible another food spot right there. And
Pizza's been
everybody
big
needs
on
more
that
food.
corner. I've had 3 interested pizza joints.
Okay.
And
I guess, and again, I understand there's no guarantees in business. I certainly understand that. However, just understand the importance of filling that spot in 2 years.
Sure.
It's paramount.
I
Let's
did
get
it in
done.
Independence.
Where did you do it at Independence, Rob? Will you tell us?
We did a CID in Independence, and then we offered our land free. We took no incentives, just like this piece, no incentives whatsoever to pay down the Bass Pro TIF. And I had to fill up the rest of the lots in 2 years. I put in Main Event, the Car Wash, and Slim Chickens, and Old Chicago Pizza. And Old Chicago Pizza, I'm trying to get in that second space.
And they've showed some interest in the past, so that'd be great.
They should be on that corner.
Councilman Clark?
I just wanted to tell Mr. Herman, I'm not against this project. I just don't think it should be in a TIF because it's not part of the Menards project. So the project, to me, is a good project. I just don't think it should be in a TIF.
Well, you or I weren't I wasn't the mayor back then, and you weren't on the council. Councilwoman Davidson?
We have a lot of available space in Belton right now. I'm just wondering, from your perspective, what makes this project more desirable to a potential retailer than any of the other spaces we have available?
It's right at the crossroads. I mean, we're on the corner of Y. There's a lot of traffic there right now. The retailers love that. We're not going to spec build it. I promise everyone I'm not spec building this building. But we want to pre-lease it as Aspen's coming along and under construction and get those tenants in there.
Thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes.
Second.
Motion and a second for a second reading. Discussion. Seeing none. All in favor of a second reading? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
One opposed? Okay, so the second reading is motion approving the second reading of bill number 2019-39.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to execute the third amendment to the tax increment financing contract between the city of Belton, Missouri and Hermann Enterprises LLC for implementation of Project 3 of the Southtown Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Plan as amended.
Motion and second, discussion. Seeing none.
Councilman Finn,
Aye.
Councilman Savage,
Aye.
Councilwoman Peak, Councilman Trutzel,
Aye.
Councilman Van Winkle,
Aye.
Councilman Clark,
Aye.
Mayor Davis,
Aye.
Councilwoman Davidson.
That motion passes. B, a motion approving both readings, bill number 2019-40.
An ordinance amending Chapter 11, Health and Sanitation, Article 4, Solid Waste of the Code of Ordinances, City of Belton, Missouri, to update the solid waste, recyclable materials, and yard waste regulations.
Motion and second, discussion.
How do we,
Over here.
how do we take this in mid-month, since one's starting on July 22nd and the other, so how are citizens going to get billed? Is it based on their water cycles, or, so when does the $15.61 end and, or begin, and when does the $12.77 end?
Sheila,
It's based on the date of July 22nd, so anybody that is having a bill,
So you're
for-
saying that people whose water cycles the first week or the second week get the lower amount, but the people that get the third or fourth week get the higher amount?
It'll be based on the reading date of the
We
water
can't just use
meter.
an August 1 effective date and move forward? So everybody gets, the July payment is the same and the August payment's the same?
You can.
That'd be my recommendation.
Just so everybody knows, we will be paying a prorated bill to Jim's Disposal for the amounts for the first part of the month, and then the higher amount. So we might not have enough money to pay that bill to WCA if we're collecting the lower amount when we're accruing costs.
Well, how many
of
penalties
that.
you got on Jim so far this month?
2.
How many penalties have we established already this year that we haven't used? So, I mean, you don't think there's money sit in that fund right now that we can afford a couple dollars so people don't have to, I mean, we have to listen to it, so, I mean, it's only $2.90, whatever, but it's still $2.90 that we gotta listen about. That's just my beef.
well, is there a question there? I'm curious.
My question is, why don't we just wait until August 1st?
And the answer was,
We will be paying the higher rate for the later part of the month.
any more comments on that part? Other questions or comments? Councilman Trutzel.
I did have an inquiry, but well, two things, I guess, about somebody outright buying their own trash barrel, period, the full amount, as opposed to the monthly.
We will be charging the monthly amount. They cannot prepay, and that amount every month includes the city maintaining, repairing. Anytime anyone has a problem with their trash cart, calling, and we will make sure that their trash cart stays in perfect working order.
There is a lot of confusion going on about when this is going to start, because a lot of people don't read the newspaper, they don't go to the website, or may not be able to go to the website. We're going to have a lot more stuff going on here.
There is a flyer in the city's water bill this month, and also WCA is mailing out something to every individual customer that should hit mailboxes this week, and it's customized by their address that tells them exactly what their new trash date will be.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Entertain a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second for a second reading. Bill number 2019-40.
All in favor of second reading?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
That motion passes. B, a motion approving the second reading of Bill number 2019-40.
An ordinance amending Chapter 11, Health and Sanitation, Article 4, Solid Waste of the Code of Ordinances, City of Belton, Missouri, to update the solid waste, recyclable materials, and yard waste regulations.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Councilman Savage.
So we're not recycling anymore, so what's that piece in there for? I have asked that question, and might as well get everybody on board.
Yeah. I'll answer. Recycling was still included within the regulations because under the contract, while we're not recycling right now, if the recycling market were to stabilize and the city and the provider agreed that recycling could be provided, it still can be. And so we wanted to make sure that that option wasn't completely taken out of the Code of Ordinances.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none.
Councilman Clark?
Aye.
Councilman Savage?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peak?
Aye.
Councilman Finn?
Aye.
Councilman Van Winkle?
Aye.
Councilman Trutzel?
Aye.
Mayor Davis?
Aye.
Councilwoman Davidson?
Aye.
That motion passes. C, a motion approving both readings, Bill number 2019-41.
An ordinance approving an agreement with Cass County for collection of city property taxes.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Nobody wants to argue about the assessment value or anything? Okay.
What good's it gonna do?
Yeah, exactly.
I'd love
I'm kind of
to.
watching those people in Independence and in Jackson County kind of going crazy. Okay, seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes.
Second.
Motion and a second for a second reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. C, a motion approving the second reading of Bill number 2019-41.
An ordinance approving an agreement with Cass County for collection of city property taxes.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none.
Councilwoman Davidson?
Aye.
Councilman Savage?
Aye.
Councilwoman Peak?
Aye.
Councilman Finn?
Aye.
Councilman Clark?
Aye.
Councilman Trutzel?
Aye.
Mayor Davis?
Aye.
Councilman Van Winkle?
Aye. That motion passes. D, a motion approving both readings of Bill number 2019-42.
An ordinance amending various sections of the Unified Development Code, including Chapter 1, General Provisions, Section 1-5, General Definitions, and Chapter 40, Use-Specific Standards, Residential, Commercial, Other, Section 40-1, Letter H, Use-Specific Standards, Applicability, Section 40-4, Number 15, Uses Subject to Conditions.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
That motion passes. Motion and a second for a second reading. Discussion. Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No. Aye.
Is it aye or no?
Aye, no,
Okay.
whatever. I don't know why we're doing this so quickly. I mean, we could wait 2 more weeks. Someone has a comment about it, they could come talk to us.
Okay. Motion passes. So the motion approving the second reading of Bill number 2019-42.
An ordinance amending various sections of the Unified Development Code, including Chapter 1, General Provisions, Section 1-5, General Definitions, and Chapter 40, Use-Specific Standards, Residential, Commercial, Other, Section 40-1, Letter H, Use-Specific Standards, Applicability, Section 40-4, Number 15, Uses Subject to Conditions.
Motion and second. Discussion. Councilman Finn.
Just want to bring it to the record that we spoke about this 2 weeks ago. We had this very map in front of us and had conversation around it. So if there was an opportunity for someone who wanted to speak today, they would have had an opportunity to get on the agenda for that.
Yeah.
That's all.
While we're on this one, I've got one for us. When would we, this is probably for the city clerk, when will we see these changes? We talked about this in our neighborhood watch meeting last night. How did that go? What was the question? I'm trying to see if you're awake.
How soon are they updated? Oh, not, okay. This has to do with when our code of ordinances are amended, how soon does the code get updated on the website?
That's what we're saying.
It's immediately sent to MuniCode. We do hold them back to do an update on our website until it's cost effective, which is approximately 3 or 4 times a year. If we did them each time we changed a code, it wouldn't be cost effective. But anytime anybody has any questions, more than happy to email them a copy of the ordinance, talk about it, whatever the changes were. Just
And it's
point them
also
my way.
available online because all of our agendas and our packets are available online.
Yes.
So we can always refer them back to that also. Okay, good answers, thank you. Any other discussion or comments? Seeing none.
Mayor Davis,
Aye.
Councilman Savage,
Aye.
Councilman Van Winkle,
Aye.
Councilman Finn,
Aye.
Councilman Clark,
No.
Councilman Trutzel,
Aye.
Councilwoman Peak, Councilwoman Davidson.
Aye.
Motion passes. Resolutions. A motion approving Resolution R 2019-61.
A resolution approving actions of the city manager to engage Janet Group LLC for emergency repair of sinkholes located at 411 and 413 Hargis Lane and 16100 Allen Avenue, and ratifying task agreement number 2019-2 in the amount of $64,465.
Present. Motion and second. Discussion. We've already done these projects, right, Celia?
Yes, we're finishing up on, going back, and we had some sod wash out over the weekend, so doing some final touches, but yes, the sinkholes have been repaired.
Are they, a good time to ask this, a good segue is, silt screens, are they, with all the big weather we've had and the wind, are all the silt screens up at all these construction sites, do we know, or?
Our inspector is going out and inspecting and sending notifications. I don't know specifically, but that's something we do after every big rain, is go
Okay.
out and inspect.
Discussion, anybody else? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. B, a motion approving Resolution R 2019-62.
A resolution approving a 1-year extension of the rental agreement with Berry Companies Incorporated, DBA Casey Bobcat of Olathe, Kansas, to lease a Bobcat S595 loader with a 68-inch LP smooth bucket for use in and around the Belton Park system.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Was the park going to just use that there, or are you guys going to take it home or anything like that? or- No, I'm being facetious, yes. How many, do we have more than one Bobcat at the park? We have a skid steer. Skid steer, okay, that's what it was. I remember it was a few years ago. Thank you. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. City Council liaison reports. Councilwoman Davidson with the park.
There are a lot of very fun events coming up. I'll just read it. It's a paint party just for kids. Join us at High Blue Wellness on Friday, July 26th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. It's just $20, and that includes paint, brushes, canvas, cleanup, and snacks. We'll leave the fun painting a sea lion to you. It's for kids ages 7 and up. Sign up at High Blue Wellness or by calling 348-7400. It's Christmas in July at High Blue, and that's a great deal for you. If you sign up for an annual membership this month, you will get your 12th month free, which will be June. Come check out what sets us apart from the rest: indoor aquatics, 80+ weekly classes for youth and adults, garage gym, personal training, small group, and more. New members only. Kids Night Out is back for a special July event. Join us for a splash party at the outdoor water park at our special July Kids Night Out. There will be water games, food, a movie, and more. It's for ages 5 to 12. Cost is $20 for the first family member, $15 for each additional family member. Remember, it's $5 at the door, or $5 more at the door, excuse me. Register at the front counter or by calling 348-7400, extension 0. We hope you'll join the party.
That's all?
There will be more next month. We have a lot of theater in the park coming up.
It's good stuff. Okay, mayor's communication. We went to, like we said earlier, had a neighborhood meeting last night, neighborhood watch. Councilman Peak and I were there. It was a really good group, and some real positive input back from the community, from our constituents, so we thought that was good. Okay, city manager's report.
Yes, we have a few items tonight. Chief, do you want to talk about National Night Out and a precursor to what that's looking like so far?
Precursor.
Well, it doesn't happen till August.
National Night Out is scheduled for August the 6th. Historically, we've had different block parties around town. There have been some years that the weather has been uncooperative. It's been so hot that we have moved it to later in the year. Last year, we actually had a tailgate party during one of the high school football games in lieu of the National Night Out event. Lieutenant Dan Davis is in the process right now of recruiting different block parties in various areas of town. He's working with some of the neighborhood watch groups, some of the housing groups, seeing if those folks are going to be willing to host those events, and we will partner with whatever housing groups or neighborhoods want to host a party. We will make sure that we have police officers there. We generally have fire apparatus that will go. McGruff makes an appearance, and everybody has an evening focus on their neighborhoods, getting to know each other better, and just being better neighborhoods all around.
Question, Councilman Clark.
Chief Person, do you guys put in for the request for the roads to be closed? I know back in the day, we used to close roads and all that stuff. Do you do that for all of them once they've set up, or?
It depends upon the neighborhood. Some of the neighborhoods will host them in yards. If they host them in a yard, then there's no need to close the street. If they are hosting a large party where they are requesting a street closed, then it does require that they go through that permit process. However, a number of them in the past have, like I said, they will host them in yards. Somebody may have a large yard in a neighborhood. There may be a parking lot within a private housing development, and we've even had very large ones on Main Street at different times of the year, or different years we've had them. So it just depends upon where they ask to have the party and the folks that are planning and hosting that event.
Is Lieutenant Davis telling them if they're wanting to block the roads that they got to go through the
Yes.
process? Okay.
Yes.
I just know, used to be the tech guy over there. His dad used to have one over there off of 170th Court, and of course they always had great food, so I went to that one. But
They always had a fish fry there.
fish fry, yes, we did.
It was the Shrivers always
There
did
we
that.
go.
Well, how many at our peak, how many have we had neighborhood watch groups that we visited in an evening?
We've had upwards of close to 10. Normally, there have been 6 or 7 at different places around town. Like most long-term events, they're rather cyclic. People move, people have different wants and needs, and so whoever hosted the party in this neighborhood may not be there the next year, and we just have to recruit others every year.
In your experience, I know my experience, which one's the biggest one that you've seen, that neighborhood watch?
The biggest party that we ever had for several years was on Main Street, and it was when Dryden's helped sponsor that event. We provided hot dogs. They provided the the cooking, and they had a very large turnout from Old Town. People would go in there, they'd have a big cakewalk for kids. But that was probably the largest one. We also have had large ones in a couple of the different housing units, apartment complexes. I know that out at Lazy Acres, they've had large ones different years. It's the military housing has had a very large one for all of the military housing out there. So Springdale Lake has had them in the past, as has South Fork Mobile Home Park. And all of those didn't require closing streets because they had them in the private areas that they had.
South Fork made it into a carnival almost. They had like a petting zoo and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It was pretty bizarre. So it is a big deal.
It depends. Some have been very small. A cul-de-sac has had it just in their own cul-de-sac. For instance, the Shriver's cul-de-sac has had one with maybe 12 or 15 houses, up to hundreds of units. So it just depends on who's willing to organize it and host it.
Outstanding.
I'm assuming we will get a list of these?
As soon as we have that, we will post that list so that you all can visit them in your areas. And the mayor usually tries to be escorted to all of them. I'm not sure that he tries to indulge at all of them, but
I'm sure he does.
I do. So
You want to
I
get a
don't want
menu?
to offend anyone by not partaking, so I pace myself.
You have to, and
You
if
get a
it's
menu with the
hot,
permit?
it's just terrible. Bring a towel. Somebody over here, did somebody have a hand up or any questions? Okay, what do you got next?
Next tonight, Dave, if you'd like to make an introduction here.
Well, I'm happy to inform the City Council we have a new chief building official on our staff, Mr. Brian Hunt. Began working for the City of Belton last week. Brian, wave, stand up, say hi. Brian comes to the City of Belton from a stay in Kerrville, Texas. Prior to that, he was a long-tenured chief building official in Bonner Springs, Kansas, and he was a building inspector for Johnson County, Kansas for 20 years. So great experience, great credentials, got all the certifications necessary to help us with those important plan review and commercial inspection. So happy to have Brian on board. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Brian.
Yeah, it's a nice, awful lot of fruit salad on the wall in there, Brian. That's a lot of awards and a lot of merit. And we're really impressed that Brian's already started out rolling really fast. So a really outstanding hire. You got more.
Just have one more item. This evening, the council saw that we had an item on there to pay for a couple of sinkholes that are occurring. I know some of you are aware of this and some of you may not be, but with the help of Mother Nature this year and the torrential downpours we're having, we have multiple sinkholes in the city. And so what we're doing to plan for this, and I just wanted to let everybody know, is our street preservation dollars that we have in the transportation department that would typically be used on roads is being withheld to work on roads in order to be able to work on stormwater. We have anywhere from 14 to 16 sinkholes currently. And these are in areas where we've just had extensive rain and the old, as Celia spoke 2 weeks ago, we have older metal culvert pipe that is failing. And so in those areas, we are having to go in. Some of those items we're able to do in-house. Others we're having to contract out. And so we just wanted you to know that staff's doing a great job trying to keep the pace with a lot of those sinkholes. But it's a pretty big deal, and we're staying current with it so far, but wanted you to know the extreme measure that we're looking at right now.
That's a councilman.
Are all of them, other than what we're doing, are we gonna have to do that on force account, or how are you fixing those? I mean, how are you arriving, we're not letting them out for bid, right?
Many of them we're trying to do in-house, and then the ones that we
Yeah.
aren't, we're doing our on-call contractors.
Yeah,
And trying to
that's-
get some quotes on those, depending upon the ones that we know are the most economical from working with them in the past. And some of them, if they're just an emergency, if our preferred contractor isn't available, we'll definitely contact the next one just because it needs to be. We had one where it involved a light pole, and we wanted to make sure that it wouldn't fail, and And so we were real cognizant of that.
Those guys seem a little tough to me on pricing, but
Yeah.
I have my own reasoning behind that. Nonetheless, how are we keeping track of that? How are we keeping track of what they're doing and exactly what's going on and
Well,
timing and all this kind of
right,
stuff?
we have a project manager and our inspectors are helping. They're coming and still doing the inspections. So, and our engineering staff is working on it as well. So
So you checking
from-
personnel, equipment, things like that?
I believe so. So
That's how
I've
it's
not been on
itemized
site,
out.
so I'm going to defer to Celia.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct. It's like a little, a mini little capital improvement project. So, you know, we call them on an emergency basis just because a lot of the sinkholes, if we don't get on them right away, they continue to spread. And
Right.
so, you know, we get an estimate, and then, you know, we authorize them to go to work. We already have a contract with all the on-calls, so we can quickly do that. And then we work with them, inspect them. Some of it's kind of, you know, designing as we go, as field conditions meet, but we're keeping track of all that.
Yeah, we need to, because
Yes.
it's fairly pricey.
Yes,
Unit prices are pretty tall.
yes. The option is waiting, you know, and we kind of waited, you know,
Oh.
do you wait and have it
I
keep
know.
going and taking down, you know, a lot of them in our backyards, and so we have fences and sheds and things like
yeah, you
that,
got-
so,
Liability and everything to think about, I understand
Yes.
that.
yes.
Is that it?
And that's all I have tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Other business? Oh, I'm sorry, Celia, go ahead.
I wanted to just update the council briefly. Just had a pre-construction meeting with Superior Bowen. As you recall, our street preservation project was approved at the last council meeting. Well, they're ready to go, and so they've told me that they can start July 22nd. So I'm going to be sending out a notification. We're working on a schedule right now. I already have the streets, but we're working on a schedule of what order, and then got to get that up on the website that I've been talking about, and I'm going to send out notification to residents. So just wanted to let you know you're going to see, you know, some street preservation work going on really soon.
Which brings up, that's the day that we start trash too? New trash?
A lot going on in Belton, Mayor.
I'm just talking about, yeah, Chief, go ahead.
I got a phone call late this afternoon from Blue Valley, and they are out here. They've started the process of working on the sirens to bring them up to code. They said they will meet with me later in the week to let me know how that's all going. This is the work that you all approved in preparation for entering into the maintenance agreement. So they have begun that work.
That's super. Councilman Trutzel.
I have a few questions for the acting fire chief. There was an extensive article in the Kansas City Star this weekend having to do with fire and fire personnel. One of the questions came up, or the discussion was that what is your policy on use of oxygen after the fire has been extinguished but not completely put out?
Well, currently, if there's any active fire, they're still going to wear their SCBAs, their self-contained breathing apparatus. Our thresholds right now is that we measure for carbon monoxide levels and oxygen levels. So once we're below 50 parts per million on carbon monoxide and above 20.9% on oxygen, they can approve the removal.
This article was saying that there was extreme health issues that actually went on to litigation because they determined that the firemen were pulling off their oxygen before the contaminants were completely extinguished. They were breathing particles of plastic and whatever have you. And so they were changing their policy, or at least they indicated they were going to change the policy, that they need to keep the apparatus on until the thing was completely, absolutely, totally gone. The second part of that particular article had to do with washing of the fire protective units. And so what's our situation on washing?
Well, there are some things, and this has been a sweeping thing through the fire service. It's coming on fairly quick, and so there's some areas that we're already ahead of the game. We already, by contract with the union, supply them with 2 sets of gear the expectation is. We don't bag it. Some people they're going very in-depth. We haven't quite made it there yet, but the expectation is that they wash the gear after every fire, and so that's why we provide them with the
They were
second
saying
set.
even were they washing it at home?
Oh, no. No, it's a total separate, they're not even supposed to take their gear home. So we have a separate extractor just for
At
decontamination.
the fire station?
Yeah, at both of our stations have them. And so, they're supposed to wash them after every fire. And some other minor things that we've started, we provide them with the wipes. There's wipes that we can wipe ourselves down. They're doing what's called gross decon on the scene, so they'll come out. We've got a garden hose that they'll spray their gear and get the bulk of the visible materials off. And if their gear's not already wet, it dampens the gear so that it kind of keeps that stuff from becoming airborne.
This after reading that article, of course, obviously I'm not a firefighter or know anything about it, but it was extremely concerning to me that, that as far as, making sure that we're not going to in any way increase the health issue for a firefighter fighting a fire or after.
The other thing that's been really good from the city standpoint and city council approval is that we've been doing yearly physicals now for a number of years, maybe 15 years now. So every one of our firefighters has an annual checkup, which includes a lot of the cancer checks. So that's a good from a standpoint of finding out early, but it's going to cause some issues. We'd already talked about it. I've actually talked to NPR because that issue and that particular story you're talking about deals with how we track that, because we don't. It's not a presumed, yet. You have to prove it in a track record and documenting where you've been. So we've got a lot of work to do on it, but we're already doing several things already that's very positive to help protect our folks.
Thank you.
I read the article also, and I watched at the Tuscany Village fire that early morning, and I saw the guys coming over with the garden hose, all getting hosed down, and it was just like clockwork. It was processed here, there, do it. How many times do they wash it in that special washing machine or whatever? Is it just once?
Yeah, it just goes through once. We have special chemicals that are made to help take care of that and not ruin the gear at the same time. So they just go through once. We have dryers that dry them, and then they're ready to go again.
It was a pretty alarming article too, and I cut it out. I always cut out all those articles, but it was pertinent that it's good to know, and I've seen it in person, how you guys take a lot of care in doing that. I mean, it's just smart. Of course, the whole thought process was too, is your skin is breathing the same thing also, so you have to be really careful with that. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, over here, which one's first, Ryan or Councilwoman?
I'll go
Ladies
first.
There it is.
I received a thank you note from Miss Brummer, and she just wanted to thank the city employees who came out last week to collect their trash. They deserve a huge thank you from our citizens and council alike. I'm sure they never expected in their position to be a trash collector. And from what I saw, it was done with a smile and friendly manner to the citizens. So thank you, city employees. You are the best. So I wanted to share that.
Yes. Councilman Finn.
I wanted to get an update from Carolyn on the Fairfield Inn, if we could. I haven't heard about it for a while, and I know we're approaching the completion of that project. Just wanted to hear about it.
Sure. So Fairfield Inn is actually looking at late fall for an opening, although it doesn't look like they're making a whole lot of progress from the outside. On the inside, they're laying carpet, there's furniture in there, so they're hard at work, and we believe that they should be open late fall. Early to late fall. We'll be optimistic.
We've been in it and looked at all that stuff. We went up, how long ago? That's been almost a month ago, hasn't it? And they've got, they're doing really well on the inside. Of course, on the outside with all the rain, they've had some setbacks there, but it's sure gonna make a difference with that road back behind Chipotle and Arby's, where the citizens can get out over to Marky Mullen, and have access instead of going out on the suicide lane. That'll really help. That's what we've always called it, the suicide lane. Would you call it that, Chief? It's pretty crazy trying to get in that
he would
left-hand
not.
turning lane to go south. Okay, the MML, Westgate Leadership Banquet Award, citizenship, that comes up Thursday, July 25th in Lee Summit, and that's going to be at the Longview Mansion. Yeah, it's a good deal. We've already got some of us, I know my wife and I are going, and Lori and Ron are going, and Councilman Lathrop's going. So if you want to do that, you need to let Andrea know by Friday the 12th, or the 7th, the 7th. 12th of the 7th, okay.
July 12th.
And one, Celia, one that I had today was about the Power Light. Is Power Light doing above ground, I think you notified me, are they doing any above ground city Power Light, putting lines up when it's an underground? Did you get that or did she get that?
We all got it, and staff went out and looked at the site, and there's, KCP&L was not on site. Don't have anything to report from that area. We're going to go by daily to see if there's something new, but we're not, when we did our drive-bys today, we did not see what the citizen was, had mentioned.
And just to add to that, we don't have any record of any utility locates in that area either. So not sure, we haven't been notified of any work that would be going on there, but yeah, we'll continue to
Well,
monitor.
if it was doing above ground, that would have to be Power and Light, wouldn't it? It wouldn't be.
It sounds like it'd be transmission. I don't know why you would go in a neighborhood with underground. That doesn't make sense to put back in overground, so I would think it would be some kind of transmission, but I'm not aware of any big projects, and you would think that we would be notified
Well, wouldn't they have to get a permit?
if it were in our right-of-way. And they'd have to get utility locates. So if whoever's reported that, if they can give us information, we can try to find more
That came up in our
about it.
neighborhood watch meeting last night, wasn't it? So, yeah, it's just curious. I wanted to make sure that, wow. Okay, any other business? No one? With that, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Seeing none. I think we do it by roll call, don't we? No. Not anymore? Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Close, thank you.